Welcome to Mr. Wizard's Workshop, episode 50. This week's going to be 10 tips for a great night's sleep. So, sleep, the chief nourisher in life's feast. And here are Z, our little girl, and Davy, our little boy, both of whom are actually champion sleepers. Another quote from Shakespeare, sleep that relieves the weary laborer and heals hurt mind. So last week's workshop was a deep dive into the significant health benefits of getting enough sleep and quality sleep and the truly devastating effects of sleep deprivation. So sleeping better should be an urgent priority for you. I'll post the link to the recording of last week's workshop in the description of this week's recording. In this week's episode, I'm going to give you 10 tips to help you get an excellent night's sleep. Many, but not all the recommendations are from Dr. Matthew Walker, who's a renowned sleep researcher and literally wrote the book, a bestseller on sleep, Why We Sleep, Unlocking the Power of Sleep and Dreams. All of the things are also things I've specifically done to significantly improve my sleep over time. Starting with assess, which is assess whether or not you're currently getting enough sleep. Now, there's informal ways to do it. I mean, ask yourself, if your alarm didn't go off in the morning, would you sleep past? Another question you ask yourself, are you trying to sleep longer during the weekend than you do during the weekdays to try to catch up? An even more precise way to do that is get some biomedical metric like watches. Some of those sport watches do it, but I think the most precise tool out there, the most accurate, is the Oura ring, which I have and have had for, I think, 3 years now. I took a snapshot of my Oura scores for last night's sleep. So total sleep, almost 8 hours. REM sleep, 30%, 2 hours, 17 minutes. Deep sleep, 1 hour, 47 minutes. The second picture shows the actual cycles I went through. So the bottom here is deep sleep. So you can see I had a early portion of deep sleep. The white bars across the top represent being awake. There is, every night I wake up one time usually because I need to get up and go pee. And then I do it, and it takes me a little while to get back to sleep. As you'll see for one of the tips coming up soon, I build that expectation into my schedule, i.e. the time that I go to bed, and just assume and plan for the fact that plus about 30 minutes, this 30-minute gap is going to happen. And then the last one's readiness, resting heart rate was good. I mean, I always like to get it a little bit lower, but that's average resting heart rate overnight, sleep balance. So the basic thought is pretty damn good for a 70-year-old. In general, 70-year-old men often only achieve a cycle of deep sleep about 5% of the night. So it's an expectation, and usually happens that as you age, and it's more pronounced for some reason for men, as you age, especially your deep sleep really takes a big hit. So I hit 23% deep sleep last night, 30% REM sleep, 11 hours, 42 minutes of total sleep. Unlike most oldies, I wasn't constantly waking up over the course of the night. So all of this is actually significantly better than, say, 3 years ago when I kind of started the process of trying to tune my sleep. So tip number 2 is factor slack in. That is, focus on giving yourself a long enough sleep opportunity each night. I already mentioned I plan for or assume, I'm going to get up one time during the night. And I also factor in, like most people, it takes me a certain amount of time to nod off. I factor in that lost time when I set my bedtime. So I'm typically shooting for getting in bed around, I'm most embarrassed to say, but hey, I'm an old guy, 9 o'clock at night. The flip side is I get up no later than 6 in the morning, but I do feel that, take into account the fact that I'm going to also meditate and I'll talk about that a little bit more, but I allocate about 15 to 20 minutes for a little final mental ramp down exercise at night. So I build that into my plan also. Tip number 3, chill out. So here's a direct quote again from Dr. Walker. You need to get cool to get good sleep. So based on extensive research, the ideal temperature for your bedroom is when you're sleeping is 60 to 67 degrees Fahrenheit. And that's optimal for most adults. He recommends getting a chili pad. I've had one for years and I love mine. So that's a way to make sure that, and I set it for 65 degrees. So tip number 4 is block the blue. So computers, tablets, mobile phones bathe you in blue LED light, which fools your brain into thinking it is daytime, or in some cases early daytime, and delays the release of melatonin, which is the signal to your body that it's time to start switching over into a sleep mode. Melatonin doesn't actually make you sleepy, but it's a hormonal signal to your body that it's becoming time to prepare for sleep. And contrary to popular opinion, I don't wear these blue blocker glasses because I think I look like Bono. They're actually to protect my eyes and also to manage the effect of blue. I don't bring any of those devices, computer, tablet, mobile phone, into my bedroom at all. Not every night, but some nights, especially if I didn't get as much deep sleep the night before, to really get the message across about an hour before I go to bed, I'll switch to, I call these my daywalker glasses. So kind of like a vampire trying to walk around during the day. They're a much heavier blocker. And so that really starts toning down. So rather than have to turn down all my lights around me, I can just put this on and lower the amount of light that actually comes through. Related to that is get dark. So indoor lighting is a problem also. So you really need dark to sleep. Your bedroom should be like a cave. That is cool, dark, and quiet. So some of the specific things that I've done, and that actually Dr. Walker also recommends, to install blackout curtains, get a sleep mask, get a nighttime bedside lamp, a nighttime light source bulb for your bedroom. That is, at least in your bedroom, switch over all your lighting sources to be blue light blocking light sources. So there are some specific, you can find Google on Amazon, but you can get night lamps that are specifically designed to give you the right light spectrum for night, and also light bulbs that do that. So I have those in my overhead light, and I have a lamp right by my bed. And I also have a white noise generator next to my bed. So that gives me the equivalent of quiet. So here I took a few snapshots, my cave-like environment. So there's my blackout curtains. Now, I mean, this is the middle of the day when I took this picture. So at night, it's going to really, there's another blackout curtain over my other window, but they're pretty effective. And then I also have a sleep mask. Here's my chili pad, set it at 63 to get it cool fast, and then I'll bump it up to 65. And there's my white noise generator, and there's my little nightlight lamp. So as you can see, pretty serious about getting good sleep. So here's tip number 6, shut down, which is implement a little regimen every night to, once you lay down. I go through this process. So I start with slowing my breath, which starts to slow your mind. I do 5 minutes of simple breathing exercises where you focus on your breath and I'll usually count it and do a simple pattern of, say, 5 in, hold for 5, 5 out, and just do that for about 5 minutes and focusing on my breath and trying to avoid thinking about everything I did today, what I'm planning on doing tomorrow, any worries or anything. I try to shut down my mind. And then once I do the breathing, I just go through, start at the bottom of my feet and to relax my muscles all the way up, starting with the feet and working my way up to forehead and eye. Typically run through that with a little practice in like 3 or 4 minutes. It's just a simple, tense, relax. And then I run back through again, focus on each muscle group in turn and just feel it and make sure I've released any remaining tension. I then do 10 minutes of very simple metta meditation. It's a Buddhist meditation, loving kindness. I got several examples of that out there on my YouTube channel, but it's basically whoever you're doing it, you can do it for yourself. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be well in body, mind, and spirit. And then decide 3 of the 11 benefits of that loving kindness meditation I just described as enumerated by the Buddha is you will sleep easily, you will wake up easily, and you will have pleasant dreams. And then the Dalai Lama on sleep said, sleep is the best meditation. So tip number 7, get some daily exercise. It definitely helps, whatever your age is. 20 to 30 minutes of exercise every day contributes to being able to go to sleep and sleep better, but don't do it too late in the day. You should finish up, especially anything strenuous, at least 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. Avoid the big 3 here. Avoid or at least minimize nicotine. I don't say avoid coffee, but it's manage and minimize caffeine. So caffeine actually has some health benefits, and I have 1 cup a day. Typically get that wrapped up before 10 a.m. so that the half-life of coffee, which is about like 12 hours, most of it is out of my system when I go to bed. And then avoid alcohol. Typically, I mean, I don't drink much anyway, but if I am going to drink, like I'm celebrating something, having some champagne or whatever, I do it in the morning, and then again, that helps to clear it out of your system before you go to sleep. You also want to avoid large meals and consuming beverages late at night. So I try to eat my last food at least 3 hours before I go to bed. And tip number 9 is get by, which is recognize and understand that biphasic sleep is actually the natural pattern and is the key to long life, again, based on research by Dr. Walker. So he points out that hunter-gatherers, and he lists some specific examples, but pretty much any hunter-gatherer, their way of life hasn't changed over the past 1,000 years, sleep in a biphasic pattern. That is, they take a long sleep pattern, 7 to 8 hours of time in bed, achieving about 7 hours of sleep, which is going to be the minimum ideal for most adults. They also have a 30 to 60-minute nap in the early afternoon. I very often will get a 30-minute nap in. I mean, a lot of people call it power nap, and I think it contributes to my productivity during the day, but also helps me to make sure that I don't have any sleep deficits. Get a quote from Dr. Walker: when we are cleaved from the innate practice of biphasic sleep, our lives are short. He points out that in those relatively small number of places, like there's in Greece or some of the islands where people still practice the old siesta tradition, men are nearly 4 times as likely to reach the age of 90 as American male. Again, just don't take a nap too late in the day. A really late afternoon or early evening nap makes it harder to fall asleep at night. Another thing that can be very helpful, I mean, I don't do this every night, but a lot of times, especially if I'm feeling like it would benefit me, is I take a hot shower. We don't really have a bathtub, or a shower's a lot better, but either take a hot bath or a shower in the evening right before bed. So that drop in body temperature after you get out can help you feel sleepy. It can also help you relax and slow down so that you're more ready to sleep. So the action item for this week's actually pretty simple, which is just pick one of those 10 tips, the thing that resonates for you. Give it a try each day this week and see if it doesn't improve your sleep. Any of these tips strike you as interesting, something you might want to give a try to?
My main takeaway is that I've tried all of these things, but I haven't tried all of them at the same time.
Right. Yes.
Which is a very important detail, right?
It is.
The other thing is your resting heart rate is very impressive.
I mean, it's okay. It used to be a lot better when I was running more, but I mean, I'm happy with it compared to what it could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like if it was under 60, but on average, but
yeah, I mean, like when you look at the averages, I think they say like 70 to 100.
Right.
Right. And then when you get into the 60 and below 60 range, that's it, like usually for well-trained people. So seeing you in the 60s is like, wow, that is impressive. Yep. I'm interested in this because I've been, for running, I started learning about heartbeat training. Like some people call it like the MAF method, like there's various zone 2 training, all that stuff.
Right.
And so I learned more about the, heart rate and resting heart rates and, like how heart size and genetic dispositions change your highest and lowest heart rate. Insane, like not insane, but like by very big differences.
Right.
So yeah.
Right. One of the things that you're interested in and concerned about related to sleep, and I actually left off the tip, which is always go to bed at the same time and get up at the same time, because your chronotype kind of shifts, or you don't necessarily over time. You might, if you just went with your natural cycle, say you were in a cave, you would be going to bed later, getting up later, rather than naturally always going to bed at the same time. True?
Yeah, that's exactly what always happens to me.
Right. I think the big thing is if you do all these if you get quality sleep, so if you get 7 to 8 hours, if you had numbers like I had, I think you're fine. I think you're in great shape. And the fact that your particular pattern rolls over is no big deal. And because you're self-employed, it doesn't matter. It'd be more of a challenge if you had to get up at the same time every morning and get into work, right?
It was a huge challenge when I was working in the office though. Like
Yeah.
it was it was
Right.
always a big problem. However, there's one thing that's not good. Like I have very good sleeping hours. And you wrote earlier on the slide, like, would you sleep longer if there wasn't an alarm clock? Rarely do I put an alarm clock. I put my alarm clock about twice per week for certain days, right? But other than that, I just wake up when I wake up. All those things. But the one thing that's not good is my resting heart rate. Consider my resting heart rate is over 70, like closer to 80. And
Right.
the thing is, I'm also like when I do fitness tests, running tests, all those things, I am in really good shape. Like I'm not an Instagram model physique type of guy, but these benchmark tests, I have a very, very, very good fitness level. And
Right.
I've been training all my life, so
Right.
I enjoy doing it. It's just so strange that my resting heart rate is so high, and this is why I started looking into all these things, because I want to lower my resting heart rate. Maybe there's some genetic disposition to it, but I believe I can lower it. So yeah, maybe.
I think you probably can at least sleep, because I lowered mine significantly once I started tracking. Once I got the Oura Ring, I started tracking the numbers and started making changes. So the memory, I think, getting the chili pad, so starting out by lowering my body temperature pretty quickly, improved my sleep, but as I recall, that also improved my resting heart rate. So I think some of that is if you're getting more deep sleep, your heart rate's going lower during the phase when you're in the deep sleep.
To be fair, I test my resting heart rate when I wake up.
Right.
I wake up, first thing I do is check my heart rate. Not every day, like I haven't done it now in a couple of months, but that's like, like how I discovered that, my resting heart rate is pretty high. Like what's going on, right?
Well, I've noticed like when I first get up, the Oura Ring shows when I first wake up, mine's up there, and it's kind of the cycle. As the circadian rhythm moves towards, okay, now it's time to waking up, it actually starts ramping up your system. So I think mine's in the 80s or low 90s typically when I first wake up. Now it drops back down pretty quick. Like right now it's 67 per my sports watch.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, interesting. So
yeah.
so resting heart rate is like the deep sleep heart rate. In that case, it's not, you lay down for 10 minutes and do nothing, or it's not the same thing, huh?
Well, you say it a different way. A deep sleep phase of when you're sleeping, of your sleep cycle is typically the point when your heart rate is the lowest.
Okay. Yeah, now I understand.
I mean, when you're awake, your whole sleep cycle doesn't really have anything to do with it. Now, your circadian cycle, I think, does influence your heart rate to a certain extent, because when you're, like I said, when you're first waking up, your circadian cycle is running up or tends to increase your heart rate. Like I notice when I'm first getting up, it's almost always in the 80s or 90s, but it drops back down pretty quick, especially when I get up and start moving around.
So I need to check again while asleep, and I might actually be much lower than I thought.
Exactly.
Due to me measuring it wrong. Okay.
I mean, I like the Oura Ring. They're not like dirt cheap, but if you've got a pretty good, some of the sports watches do a pretty good job of the sleep stuff.
Yeah, I'll look into it. Thanks, Stephen.
Yep. So anything else that hit you as far as today's topic, or anything else you want to discuss related to sleep and or any of the 10 tips?
Well, a lot. I think it's a fascinating topic, and just it was interesting when you said because you're older and you sleep earlier, you sleep more, and I thought, well, actually, this is something to be super proud of. Like we all sacrifice sleep to chase after whatever things in life.
Right.
And then, when those who can sleep a lot more, we praise it, right? So I think it's a clear sign of success and productivity, right? Exactly what you're teaching.
Right.
When somebody can sleep a lot, it's like, when you retire, one sign is that you look well rested and tanned. So that's how we all imagine retired people, right? So
good point.
Yeah. So
although I would recommend that everybody get an optimal amount of sleep. Don't necessarily wait to retire, because it's going to significantly contribute to your productivity during your work life. You can get too much sleep. I mean, there are some negative health implications if you're sleeping 10, 11, 12 hours a day. For most people, that's unhealthy. So there is a happy medium. And for most people, I think it's right at 7 7.5 to 8 hours, something in there. And that I almost always hit that. 8 hours. Every once in a while, I'll go a little bit more. I think that's probably true for you and most other people too. It's very rare. There are people that say, "Oh, I only need 6 hours sleep." There's a extremely small percentage of people where that's actually true, where 6 hours of sleep is their ideal number. The percentage of those people is a tiny, tiny number, and there's nobody does well with only 5 hours of sleep. You're just lying to or fooling yourself if you think that's the case.
Well, one other thing on your slides was the afternoon nap. Well, early afternoon nap. That one is really interesting. Like instinctively, I would think that would make me sleep even later. But maybe that's completely wrong. Maybe an afternoon nap actually helps you sleep better at night, right? Especially when you avoid the lights and the technology and all those things. That is one thing that I don't follow. Like I had a phase where I did it, where I would like not use my phone, computer 1 hour before sleep, and I would just read a book and things like that. But definitely not in recent times where I'm like, okay, time to prepare for bed and shut everything off and not do that. I think that considering my questions about sleep, I think until I do that, most of the other conversation topics are kind of mute, right?
Right. Well, I think, and it's not really that hard to do. The other thing you could do is actually get a set of blue blocker glasses. So if you just must work your emails and do some final wrap up stuff shortly before you go to bed, at least have the blue blockers. But I think it's better if you can shut down your computer and your phone a couple of hours before you go to bed, and just get in the habit of not having any of those devices in your bedroom at all. Since the action of this week's like pick one and experiment with it for a week, unless it causes you some real business hardship, just try to at least an hour before you go to bed. Don't be working on your computer or working on your phone or on a tablet. Step away from that an hour, maybe even 2 hours before you go to bed. You got to try it for a couple of weeks for a fair test and see if it can have any impact.
I would really have to change my work schedule.
Yeah.
To make that a possibility because I work so late at night. But you're completely right? This is like one of those moments where if you want it, you make the change. Let's start the process. That's what I'll say.
Very good. So thanks for joining. Thanks for watching this video recording from my live weekly workshop. Every Sunday, I feature instantly actionable steps you can take to overcome procrastination, increase your productivity, and get your shit done. Followed up by Q&A and discussion with the live participants. I really hope you found this video useful and you feel like watching it was time well spent. Please post any questions or comments you have. I always answer posts. I'd appreciate it very much if you would like this video and subscribe to my channel. And if you know anyone that would enjoy and benefit from this particular episode, please send them the link. Stay productive, my friends.